initial post-election reaction to the results last night. I've got my cup of coffee here. I'm sure many of you were up late, but obviously an historic election last night. And those of you who have been following Judicial Watch for some time, I know you haven't been surprised by the Trump phenomenon. Frankly, Mr. Sanders was evidence that people were fed up with what was going on here in Washington. But let's be clear here. Judicial Watch did not take steps purposely to make Hillary Clinton lose. But the consequences of Judicial Watch's work led to the results last night. And Judicial Watch changed history with its email investigations. The FBI and Justice Department didn't want to do anything. The Congress didn't want to do anything. But the American people did want to do something about Clinton accountability and criminality. And Judicial Watch began and uncovered this Clinton email issue. We pursued it diligently and thoroughly. We used the courts, our precious, precious courts, to gain access to information. We disclosed information that held Mrs. Clinton to account, and the American people used that information. And as I said, we're not intervening in the election. We don't tell you who to vote for or who to vote against, but you see that Judicial Watch changed history with our work. And there's rough justice in the election results last week or yesterday. Now, to be clear, Mr. Trump now has major challenges before him. And he won based in part, in large measure. A key part of his argument was against Clinton criminality, against corruption here in Washington, D.C. And we're all in favor of that if that's those are the policies he wants to implement. But he needs to take that seriously. The American people are fed up, and he needs to pursue this issue. So there needs to be a transparency revolution. There needs to be an accountability revolution. He needs to rein back out-of-control government that thinks it's above the law. He needs to pressure Congress to do its work, to conduct oversight over all the money it's spending. But of course, he's got independent authority, too, to conduct oversight over the money he's entrusted with by the American people. So his appointments need to be good and need to be forward-looking in that regard. So there's going to be a lot of work to do. We're not going away from the Clinton emails. Obviously, there's still a lot of accountability. We had 2 court hearings the last week, just on Friday and Monday, about the Clinton issue. We have a hearing tomorrow about Obama transparency with the removal of the Bowie Bergdahl prisoner swap for 5 Al-Qaeda prisoners. We're still trying to get information on that. We're not stopping. Judicial Watch won't stop. The Trump administration is going to be held accountable to the rule of law. Now, especially since Republicans control Congress, you have Republicans in the White House, Congress isn't going to do much in the way of oversight. So it's going to be up to Judicial Watch to provide independent oversight, because the problem is that Mr. Trump may come in and say, well, I'm not Barack Obama, I'm not Hillary Clinton, why would anyone question me? And we learned during the Bush administration the government's pretty darn big and deserves a lot of questioning, and you need an independent group like Judicial Watch to hold Mr. Trump accountable to the rule of law as well. So, we're conservative, but we're independent. We're not affiliated with any party. But those of you who have been supporting Judicial Watch for years, I know many of you have, you see the consequences of your support. And you may not like Mr. Trump as president, and I'm not saying one way or another whether you should or shouldn't have voted for him, but the consequence is that Mrs. Clinton was held accountable at the ballot box, for her misconduct and criminality. And that misconduct and criminality was exposed by Judicial Watch. And it wasn't a political party, it wasn't a campaign. We didn't do it to help a political party, a campaign. We did it to help the American people and to vindicate the rule of law. And this is the consequence. And of course, who's most responsible for Mrs. Clinton's loss yesterday? Mrs. Clinton. Because she made the decision when she came into office as Secretary of State to avoid the law and violate the law, to cover up whatever it is she wanted to do at the State Department. And that cover-up failed thanks to Judicial Watch. So a remarkable testament to the power of the anti-corruption message yesterday. And I tell you, the politicians need to take heed of both political parties. And frankly, this is an opportunity for Democrats too. I've always said that both Democrats and Republicans are oblivious to the anti-corruption concerns Americans have, And it's a brass ring for the taking for any politician who shows principled, effective leadership on the issue. Trump's victory is an indication of that, but Republicans should not sit on their heels, as I'm sure they're going to be doing, given the typical Republican leadership in this town. And Democrats should learn that corruption matters. Judicial Watch knows corruption matters. It's about time the politicians start figuring that out. And yesterday's election results show that maybe one politician has benefited from the concerns Americans have had for the out of control situation here in Washington. But it's a long ball game. We have to remain vigilant in our oversight of the United States government, and Judicial Watch is going to be your watchdog in Washington during the Trump administration, just as it was during the Obama administration. So thanks for your support, and we'll keep on fighting. Clinton emails issues aren't going away. We're going to seek accountability there, and of course, there's going to be a whole set of new challenges with any new administration coming in, and we'll be prepared for them. Again, thanks to your support. So maybe I'll be here later in the week, I don't know, but I thought I'd give you the special weekly update midweek given the historic election yesterday. Thanks for tuning in.